The first thing I'd like to do is welcome, you're already on the stage, I can't like welcome you to the stage. Please put your hands together for Zolani.
So I'm not Ed Sheeran, but I'm from the city. So, Trenton, you're going to ask me some questions?
I can do.
Please. Or what?
So we'll ask some questions and then we'll get the audience to ask you some questions. So I want to ask about how Freshly Ground started. You know, and I'm going to get more into the sort of politics and sort of social stuff a bit later, but in a country where music is still quite polarized in terms of color, how did you guys become a crossover act, a mixed act? Was it something intentional? Was it organic? Was it natural? How did the whole thing spark?
It was very organic. It started with two guys who worked in a bookshop, and the one guy asked the other guy, he was like, I heard you play music. The guy said, yes, I play guitar, and this first guy played keyboard. And they started jamming together, and they just met other musicians here in Cape Town. That was in 2002. And gradually they met, hi Mike, other musos, such as myself. I was studying at UCT, I was studying drama at UCT up there in Orange, that campus. Hitting, thank you, so long ago. And this first guy, this keyboardist had seen me, he saw me singing in a play, and he invited me to come and see his band. And at that time, they were sort of playing like very instrumental stuff. Terrell, they're doing instrumental stuff, a little bit of singing. Invited me to come on to the stage that night at A Touch of Madness in Observatory. And I said yes, and the rest is history from my point of view. But it's just so happened that the people that we met came from different parts of not only South Africa, but Southern Africa, and would come to form the band. So our guitarist is from Mozambique, our second guitarist is from Congo DRC, we have a Zimbabwean in the band, I'm from PE, there's a bit of Joburg, there's a bit of Cape Town in the mix.
The true Cape Town kind of multicultural city.
Yeah.
Do you think Cape Town played a role in the band, in the music and the sound?
Yes, for sure. I mean, Cape Town is legendary for its laid-backness. And I think at this time, it's definitely the time that we started playing music, we didn't care about genres, you know, we didn't care about what the music was, just as long as it sounded good and felt good. So we were just playing cross-genre, and still do, 17 years later. Yeah, I think Cape Town has had a lot to do with it, yeah.
Let's talk about the artist struggle, so to speak. I'm sure there are a lot of artists in the room. Are there artists in the room? Yes.
I see a lot of artists in the room. So many. It's so cool.
And people often don't realize what happens in the back end and how long it takes to get there. Just talk about some of the experiences and how long you felt before you really felt you were getting a paycheck from it and you felt like you were onto something.
Yeah. I think an important thing to note, because a lot of young musos come and ask for advice and stuff. I think it's important. Okay, I'll give it the example that I'll give to what I'm about to say is that it took a while before there was like there was a paycheck. Before there was a paycheck, it was. I think it was probably about 3 years into playing music, and that was after we'd put out. Which is when we put out our second album, which is the album Mahola. And the first album was an album that was pretty much it wasn't quite self-produced, but something like that. And it's an album that a lot of people don't know about. It's an independent, our first album was an independent one called Jika Jika. And the struggles for me, when I look back, they don't compare to what the experience was. And what the experience was the joy of just playing music that we really loved. You know, and maybe it has to do with the fact that a couple of us were students, so we were young and we were just passionate about exploring our creativity, you know. But I think a lot of young artists when they come and they ask, and they're like, when is it going to happen for me? What is it going to take for me to like hit that, meet that person who's going to connect it or whatever? The most important thing is that you are playing music that really speaks to you, and you get really good at your craft. Play, and I really believe that it comes. That comes, that paycheck comes.
But do you think that's one of the challenges of our modern time? A lot of people wanting to be in music and make music for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, and it's confusing. It's confusing when you've got like social media stars, and you've got people who seem to have made it overnight, and you think that is the model. But really, the model is working at it. It's working at your craft. It's a craft like any other. You gotta pick up your skills. You work on that music. You work on your songwriting. You work on your instrument, whatever it is.
So at what point did you start to, because there's often this debate we have about the whole Joburg, Cape Town thing and being in the right city, and if Cape Town is the right city, et cetera, et cetera. Did you feel handicapped by being based in Cape Town, and how did you eventually take the sound to the rest of the country?
No, we didn't feel handicapped by being in Cape Town.
That's the right answer in this room.
No. In fact, a lot of people over the years have asked me, have assumed that Freshly Ground is a band that is based in Joburg. And we've never been based in Joburg. We've been here for 17 years. And we've been able to be successful, so no. What is the second part of your question?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
It obviously wasn't that important. Let's talk about you. At one stage of the band's career, you were touring Europe extensively. Let's talk about how that happened and what that experience was like, because obviously it's a big thing to take it out of South Africa into the European territory.
Yeah. This. It's such an exciting thing when you start like making music in the small pockets that is around you. So whatever, we start making music in OBS, right? Then you play around Cape Town, and then you're playing in Joburg, then you're playing all around the country. Then you're playing in Zimbabwe, then you're playing in Mozambique, and playing in Namibia, playing a little bit outside of your borders, and then you're playing further afield on the continent, and then you're playing in Europe. A lot of artists here will have that experience. It's such an amazing experience to know that your music translates across borders. And that is the thing about music, is that it does. That's exactly what it does. It bypasses all the boundaries. And that's why so many of us in this room are so fortunate, to be in that space. And that's what we're doing here, to learn from Mr. Sheeran here, and to hear about his journey.
Do you remember your first gig in Europe, overseas? Do you remember what it was?
I don't remember first gig, but I remember, I think, and I stand to be corrected, I don't know if Josh was with us then. He can say, was it Aachen? Okay, so here's a story. So the reason we went to Europe the first time was this dude was here, a German guy, doing some work here, and he had these friends. They had a bet that he couldn't drink like 10 Savannas and not fall over. So he was like, no, I'm going to be fine. So he drank, and he didn't get past 7. And the bet was, if he lost the bet, then he would have to take his favorite South African band to Germany. And guess whose favorite band was?
Gotta love the Germans, huh?
Yeah, and that's how we first found ourselves in Europe, was through this guy. Alcohol! Yeah, crazy. Cool.
That's a great story. I think, the funny thing was, when that happened, the music coming out of Africa was very packaged by the Western market to be world music. When I lived in London, we called them the world music mafia. They kind of had this control about, if it comes from Africa and it doesn't have bongo drums and grass skirts, it's not African enough. So we've been trying to battle with that psychology. I think we've broken through that finally, with the house and all kinds of the other stuff that's coming out. But do you feel that you were pigeonholed as a kind of token African band in Europe, or did you manage to get some crossover into the more pop market?
Sure, that's a good question. I think Yeah, it's always been tricky to for people to figure out where we fit because it's such an eclectic range of stuff. There's definitely pop elements, but there's so many different genres within it that what ended up happening was that we were always on the world music stages, which can be quite frustrating.
I think it's a good place to start, but I think it's quite hard to cross over.
It's very hard to step out of that. Yes, yeah.
I was going to do a Q&A now, but Ed's arrived. So what we'll do is you're going to come and join us later, which we're going to do anyway. And then any questions you specifically have for Zolani, you can ask a bit later. Okay.
Awesome.
I just have one more question. Sorry, before you go. So the band is playing gigs. I mean, I saw you in Gold Reef City a few months ago. And how active are you playing-wise? Is it something that you're just flowing with, or is there a push, or is there new music on the horizon? Where's it at?
Well, last year we put out our 7th album, and that was really cool. We put out a couple of singles. The second single that we put out was a collaboration with The Soil. So we are, we're working. We're working. We've I guess, in a lot of ways, we are a success story in that we've managed to make a living out of playing music, a good living, you know, like to be able to support. I don't know how many people we are, but our team at any given time is like, you know, between 7 maybe and 10 people, maybe 6, whatever. And to be able to sustain ourselves doing this thing that we love is an incredible thing that I know that I share with a lot of with musos here in this room. So blessings, as they say.
Great. I know you were going to do a song. I'm just a bit concerned about time because I think Ed has a show tonight. So
I think that guy's got a show.
He's on the clock.
I think we must get him up on the seat.
Yeah, let's get him up on the seat.
I've been
so
warming it
we'll
for
see you a bit later. Okay. Thank you.